Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 10 of the anime series DanMachi. In this episode, oh man, just all kinds of awesome was this episode. I'm giddy by the end of it. I just got done watching it, and by the end, it gave me something I really wanted, but it also kept me just on the edge of my seat. I mean, after the badass unfolding of Belle's, kicking that Minotaur's ass a couple episodes back, this just like ramped that up all over again. Now, of course, we're seeing that, Hestia's friend Taki, his familia, they're going in, and some of their strongest members, we find out through the course of this episode, are actually off with Loki familia on their expedition. So, you have a group of pseudo-weaklings. There's like two strong characters, Mikoto and Oka, in that particular group. But they end up cornered, effectively. I mean, you have these bloodthirsty, knife-wielding rabbits. Kind of remind me of the Tonberries in Final Fantasy, but much faster, and they jump after you and everything like that. And then, of course, you have these wolves that breathe fire, and it's just insane. They have all these creatures going after them, and this coincides, of course, with Belle going into the dungeon with Lily and with Welf, this newly formed party into the middle levels, and it's their first venturing into this. They don't know what is, in store for them, basically, and they're getting their butts handed to them to a point. They are holding their own to a point as well, but it's overwhelming to them, and it looks like, they're not going to get out of there, especially when you have, as I say, this coinciding of, Taki familias trying to escape, and they decide to run right through Belle's party and effectively, sidle them up with not only the creatures and monsters they're fighting, but now the monsters who've been chasing after Taki familia. So basically, it's just like the worst case scenario on day one in the middle levels of the dungeon. And it's fascinating to me because, of course, you see them becoming a well-oiled machine working together. That is to say, of course, Belle, Welf, and Lily, and they do hold their own, but only by the skin of their teeth. And at that point, they are so beaten and bloodied, and they come under the attack of these wolves, and Welf sustains an injury that's really threatening. I mean, he's to the point where he's like, just leave me behind, guys. Get the hell out of here for your own sake. But they won't. They won't disband. They won't leave anyone behind and everything like that. And Lily ventures this, potential alternative route rather than climbing back up. Let's go back down to, I think it's level 17 or 18, where there's supposed to be a safe zone. There aren't going to be monsters, and they're utilizing for a little while this stinky sucker bag or whatever it is, to try to keep creatures away from them. We get a glimpse of the awesome ability that Welf possesses, this will of wisps, where he fires this at one of these fire-breathing wolves, and this thing implodes. It his ability goes right back into itself, and it implodes. It's just friggin' all kinds of awesome. Now, as this is all unfolding, and they are stuck in this dungeon, basically you have Hestia so worried, to the point where she goes to Aina and she's like, have you heard from him? I've not heard from him. What the hell's going on? And of course, Taki feeling responsible for his familias doing this, using them as a bait and switch and getting out of the dungeon themselves. He's like, I'm trying to make amends here. Let's figure something out. So Hestia ventures this idea. We got to, form a party, and we got to go in and save them. And it's interesting because we're introduced to a character in this episode, Hermes, with his, I guess, sidekick partner, Espy. And he looks like Andy, the cowboy bounty hunter from Cowboy Bebop. I mean, if this guy is not sort of an homage to that, I'll be surprised, because he looks the spitting image of that character from Bebop, and I love that. Even if that's not the case, just that he looks similar to me anyway. But he's like, I'll help out. Taki can send in Mikoto and Oka, and they have a third party member. I'm not sure if that was the one with the eye patch. Chigusa is her name, I think, or at least whoever they referenced, they were showing that one with the eye patch when they said the name. But they're going to send 3 people in, and then you have, of course, this guy coming in, Hermes, being like, well, I'll help. He seems really interested in Belle. And there is this moment where they're, constructing this idea of being a rescue party, where we see Freya, you know, she's like sipping at her wine, drinking her wine, and she's like, well, all right, but don't any of y'all forget, I'm the only one who's allowed to play with him. Again, is this Belle she's even talking about? I'm not sure, but it seems to be Belle is chief amongst her, you know, focus and manipulations for whatever the purpose is, you know, it remains to be seen. But I loved them coming together, and, you know, you have Hattermas who's like, well, I'm not sure we have enough strength here. Let's go get somebody else. And the somebody else they're going to get. Oh man, I got goosebumps. Freaking Ryu, man. Ryu, if you've been following my videos, you know that I have been just amped. She is like my favorite of the background characters for the just lethality and badassness that she wields in very monosyllabic terms. I mean, anybody gets up in her face and she'll cut a bitch, as I said in my previous video. And I love it. I love her character. And now you have Hattermas who, like, I guess he's familiar with her. Maybe she is one of his familia, something like that. But she is the go-to, you know, extra strength, so to speak, to this rescue party. And like I said, I got goosebumps, especially toward the end once you know, pass through the credits and they're all about to go into the dungeon. This is after Belle unleashes holy hell. He takes down not one, not two, not three, but 4 friggin' Minotaurs. Okay. Like, damn. And he's even using one of the Minotaur's own weapons on the other 3. You know, the first one he takes down, he's using the weapon of the other 3. So it's like, whoosh, of awesomeness. You know, it's like eyegasms. It's just like awesome sauce. All of those superlatives that you can possibly come up with. Bam. That whole friggin' scene. And then, like I said, right at the end, you have this group getting ready to enter the dungeon. You know, Hestia and Hattermas, they're gods, and they're not supposed to be going into the dungeon. They're not allowed, but they're like, well, if nobody figures it out. And I like the idea, kind of a la Superman, Hestia being the goddess, her disguise is like glasses, you know. And but just before she's about to call to action to go into the dungeon at night, you have Ryu showing up. She's fully decked out, warrior mode to the nth degree, and it was just goosebumps. You know, this episode was just so badass. There were other things that also stood out to me. You know, I've talked at length about this series being very reminiscent of like an RPG. And it's intriguing to me that we've never been given any information to suggest these characters are in a, you know, VMMORPG kind of aesthetic. But they are still talking about like these creatures respawning and the boss of that level and all that kind of discussion. It's very intriguing to me that, you know, there is a world where this exists. It's not a game world. It's not an RPG come to life like Log Horizon. It's not, you know, as I say, a VR MMORPG like Sword Art Online. It's just the way the world is in this particular anime, unless I'm much mistaken. And the idea of being worried about a boss respawning and such like that, I find that absolutely compelling. Now, of course, I knew, you know, they have the leveling up, and Belle is level 2 now, and inexplicably he managed to, as I said in my previous video, you know, he managed to achieve that level in a quarter of the amount of time that Eyes did. And everyone thinks, according to Hattermas, you know, everyone thinks he's a liar and he's completely just BSing about how long it took him, or he's got some kind of cheats or secrets he's utilizing and whatever like that. So he is not a popular guy. And that's intriguing to me. That explains the looks both he and Welf were getting when they first paired up an episode or 2 back. So I find this just highly intriguing. This world mystifies and excites in that it is a very RPG aesthetic kind of world, but for all intents and purposes, these are living, breathing characters inhabiting this world, and it is a world. It's not a game. So it's just amazing. This episode was just awesome because it really put everything at risk. And, you know, you're looking at Belle and Welf and Lily, you know, they're down for the count at one point. You're thinking that it's over, forget it. Nobody's going to get to them in time, and only by the skin of their teeth. You know, that cloak he is wearing, they're all wearing, really. The fabric, I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but it protected them. And, you know, of course, you see that he hasn't been utilizing his full strength, and then when they're attacked by those Minotaurs, boom, he unleashes just all kinds of hell on them. And you got Lily and Welf, you know, they're mugging like I am. I'm just like, man, watching the screen, I'm like, whoa, when he's doing this. So yeah, I mean, just, I can't say anything higher praise about this episode. Left me giddy, left me chuckling, left me excited, goosebumps, you know, all that kind of stuff. And this is a true quest. It's a true journey, and all of these characters, I feel like there isn't, among all of the characters we've been introduced to, there isn't a dead leg among them. Everyone has a role to play, and they're all intriguing, and even background characters can rise to the challenge, like the Ryu character. I can't wait to see whatever can of whoop-ass she opens, hopefully in the next episode when they go to rescue Belle and Party. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below if you were this excited as I was about this episode and everything that happened in it. And, you know, are you riding the rails like I am by the end of it? Just so uber excited, wishing you could fast forward to next week already. Or did it leave you, you know, falling flat and not impress you as much as it did me? Anything goes in the comments below, as long as it isn't spoilery material, because I'm not familiar with the source material, and I don't want to know what's coming ahead of time, but speculations are always welcome. I love having the conversation back and forth in the comments with you guys, as I always say. And so yeah, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Just uber stoked for next week, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.